Good morning, everyone. My name is Rochelle Broom, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees. And on behalf of the Board, it's my pleasure to welcome you this morning to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Shenandoah Valley. At this time, if you would, please take this opportunity to silence your cell phones. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism, I encourage you to take note of our mission statement that's printed on the front of your order of service, and also the 8 principles that guide our actions. And today they're printed in the middle of the order of service. It's our practice to welcome those of you who may be visiting for the first or the second time, or maybe you've been away for a while. And if you'd stand, introduce yourselves and tell us where you're from. Let's start on this side today.
So this group in Colorado, they've met for all these years, and they got stronger and weaker and stronger. They met in libraries and rented space here and there. They've been kind of staggering along, and they need a home like this. You know, it's a home for us. It's a place that we come to. So Teague gets this idea. It's a 4.5 acre lot with a farmhouse, and bam, he just buys it. And now they're working on putting up a church building there, the UU Church, in this area for this congregation. And it's gorgeous. He'll be glad to talk to you about it sloping horse pasture and the view of the mountains. It's a really beautiful place.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Manuela, and my husband and I, Brian, just moved here from Maine last week. We live down the street, about a mile away. We're really excited to be here. We got married at a Unitarian church in Portland, Maine about 30 years ago. So we're really happy to meet everybody and be here.
Oh, hi. My name's Erica, and what would you like to say?
Where you're from?
I'm from Asheville, or Front Living, and I'm here visiting for the first time.
Nice.
I think I might have met someone earlier this year that was talking about a Unitarian church. I'm not sure, but it's interesting because it's like coming up again. And I remember them speaking about it kind of like in a passionate way. And I was like, oh, interesting, because I was kind of like surprised after having a conversation that, anyway, that's interesting.
Hello. Oh, that was next. Yeah. Hello, my name is Steve. This is my wife Janet. We're visiting the area from Vero Beach, Florida. We belong to the UU Fellowship there, and wanted to experience what it's like here. So we're happy to be here today.
But I'll also add, we're visiting here for a month. We passed through maybe about 6 years ago and really like the area. So we're just, somebody asked me, are you going to move here? Who knows? Because it's very hot down in Florida. Very, very. But it seems like a very welcome congregation. We're very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Hi, I'm Carol. I've been here a few other times with my brother Eric, who comes more regularly, and I live in Asheville.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm originally from West Virginia, but I come from Maryland. My first UU church was from the Annapolis congregation. I'm here for 2.5 months because I have been planning for years to finally take a career break, and I'm finally doing it. So I'm really glad to be here.
Well, congratulations and welcome. Anyone else on this side?
Yeah, hi, I'm Becky. I'm here visiting my good friend Ellen. I'm from Chicago, and this is my first time at the Unitarian Church, so it's so far a great experience. We had this beautiful walk Montreat, and it was so fabulous. Sorry, I'm sweaty.
Well, yes.
I'm Terry. We're here visiting my daughter Kay, and my wife, my daughter Holly, and my mother-in-law Jimmy.
Is there anyone we missed? That's great. We have lots of visitors today. Well, thank you all for coming.
We know you have a choice where to spend your Sunday morning, and we are exceedingly glad you chose to spend it with us this morning. If you're interested in receiving our weekly e-newsletter or finding out more about our community, please see anyone with an orange name tag. They're a part of our welcoming committee, and they can tell you more about us. A representative from the welcoming committee will be at the greeting table in the foyer after the service. As you review the order of service that you have today, please take note on the back of our land and labor acknowledgement. It really speaks to remembering who it was that helped enable us to be in this beautiful land where we have our church and across the country. So please do take a look at that. In terms of announcements, I just want to remind everybody of where we have our announcements. There's a bulletin board behind this wall back here. We post everything going on in the congregation and in the community at large there. We also post many of those announcements in the Current that comes out on Thursday morning. And if there are any pertinent ones, they will also be listed on the back of your order of service. So lots of places. So with all of that said, let our service begin.
Hear these words from Annie Dillard. We are here to abet creation and to witness to it, to notice each other's beautiful face and complex nature, so that creation need not play to an empty house. Let's stand together and sing 299, Make Channels for Streams of Love.
All the way through the melody once, and I think you'll probably recognize it. So stand if you're willing and able.
Streams of love, where they may
our service, where we invite you to come forward and recognize a sorrow that may be on your heart or a joy that you are experiencing and you would like to share with the congregation. The stones are here, the water is here. Light a candle, and at this time, the floor is yours.
May I light this for Angie and her recuperation.
it's now that time in the service where we give thanks for all the gifts that our congregation brings to us in terms of time and energy. But we also are very thankful when you share your financial bounty with us as well. So we would ask that you do that as you can at this time.
Very much for
Thank
your
you very much for
generosity.
your generosity.
Our reading this morning comes from Substack, from Ilia Delio, who you will hear more about. It's from a recent Substack of hers, July 12th. Why AI feels like grief, and I'm reading selected paragraphs. Why does artificial intelligence unsettle us so deeply? Not because it threatens jobs or security alone. Those fears are real, but they do not explain why the feeling reaches down so far. AI unsettles us because it is a mirror, and what we see in it is what we have been refusing to see in ourselves. Catholic social teaching is invoked every day, everywhere, yet its central term, the common good, remains deceptively abstract. We appeal to it as if we all knew what binds us into a common. But the term has no metaphysical ground, no account of what we most deeply are. That is consonant with modern science. Nor will we be saved by ethics alone. Our fundamental thinking about ourselves and our world must change before any new ethical direction can take hold. We are now being summoned at a planetary scale to be human in a way no previous generation has been, because the conditions that once distributed the axial task across a few figures in a few places are now planetary. AI asks us what consciousness is. Ecological collapse asks us what life is. Biotechnology asks us what nature is. Planetary computation asks us what knowledge is. The failure of inherited frameworks asks us what wholeness is. The ecological register presses hardest and soonest. A planet warming past the thresholds within which life evolved is not merely a material emergency, but the question of what life is, whether we can come to know the earth not as an object to be managed, but as a living interiority now becoming aware of itself through us. These are not 5 separate crises, but a single question of ultimate meaning posed in 5 registers at once. To take up the human task is to refuse each register's refusal, the version of AI that externalizes cognition without interiority, the ecological action that treats the earth as a problem to be managed, the religion that fossilizes its inherited answers, the politics organized around the isolated self, the philosophy that declares the ultimate question obsolete. Either we take up the human task or we let the phase transition resolve into a future in which the question of being human stops being asked, because the beings capable of asking it have flattened into machines. Oh my AI. Let us take a moment for meditation and prayer. Deep breath in and out. We are grateful because machines can't do that. Thus, we know we are creatures. Help us to remember and hold on to and relish in our creatureliness. Amen. Before I begin this morning's reflection on Oh My AI, I want to clearly state, clearly, that I am in no way an expert on this topic. By the way, I'm Tommy Brown, for those of you who don't know me. I was here last week, I was here last summer. I'm direct the lodge, a couple of lodges in Montreat, and am a curious person. And served a UU Fellowship as their ministry consultant for 6 years up in Boone while I was working at the university in various roles and there in town in Boone. But I'm glad to be here with you this morning. Again, I'm no expert on this topic, nor am I an eager consumer of AI. In fact, I really wish it would just go away. Do we really need what it offers? Or more accurately, do we really need it to be forced upon us, which is what it feels like? Yet for those of us who utilize computers, the internet, consume media, or live in and interact in this digital age, we are finding AI in our lives, whether we want it or not, whether we need it or not, whether it is really useful or not. Artificial intelligence in many forms and fashions is already here. Again, I want to clarify, I'm making this clear, I am not an expert, yet as you may have guessed, and as I just stated, if you've been here for my talks last summer or last week, I'm a naturally curious person. I have a lot of questions, and perhaps you do as well. And I often follow these questions towards sources, writers, thinkers, theologians, philosophers, who provide some clarity, insights on the topics and questions of which I ponder. Therefore, this morning, as an AI novice, I want to share some of what I've found, especially as it relates to the broader issues of AI's content and potential impacts on humanity. And I promise this is more light, meaning I hope it's funny. I found it funny in my observations rather than deep and heavy, but there's some deep and heaviness to it. My basic take on artificial intelligence is that it's another tool, and the creators, advocates, and promoters of this new tool promise it will make our lives easier, better, simpler, safer, wealthier, etc., etc. In other words, it is the new shiny tool that will do all the things for us that we, who are basically lazy slugs, really don't want to keep doing, like driving, oh my, or thinking, oh my. Yep, one way to look at the whole history of the industrial and technological revolutions of the past 200 years plus, humans are lazy and we are constantly seeking tools, creating tools that will do our tasks for us. That's the story. The inventors of these tools, the marketers of these tools, based their sales spill on this very premise. This great new tool will dice, slice, drive, divine, giving you time. And we again, who are basically lazy, eat it up like popcorn. Yum, 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 yum. This is one way to look at the human story. Another perspective, and we are certainly hearing this in the current conversations regarding artificial intelligence, is fear. The world is frightening. Things out there are out to get us, to steal our stuff, to threaten or even kill those who we love. Oh yes, there are reasons to be afraid. Life is an uncertain prospect. There are threats and dangers. Yet again, those who have something to sell know this about us, so they promise that their product will provide security, a wall of defense, or a way out of the dangers, the promise of protection. The funny thing about AI is that we're being sold AI as a means of protecting us from AI. Artificial intelligence in the hands of those who want to do us harm, us being the US, the good guys, have to invest and swallow AI, because if we don't, then China or Russia or worse, the bad guys, will have better AI and will use it to take us over. So we have to have the most, the best, the smartest, the fastest. Does that sound familiar? Yep. Seems like we've been here many times before, and the ones who profit from our fears are taking it all the way to their banks. As I've said, I'm an AI novice and definitely not a digital native, if you know what that means. I do have a great friend, Rob, who works daily in the digital and technological realms. He is the IT director for a mid-sized point-of-sale software company based in Boone, and I wanted to get his take on AI. Here's what he said. AI can do lots of great things, like helping you write emails, writing meeting summaries, making connections between disparate corporate resources to provide new insights. And it's decent at writing PowerShell scripts. However, whatever gains in productivity is it's providing employees at my company are being disproportionately taken back with new IT workload of managing AI security issues and slop. We were previously writing API calls to connect systems to create source of truth trust flows and fielding the unusual "why won't my VPN connect" tickets. I now get tickets asking for a new function along with a copy of their AI chat explaining how I am supposed to just attach our corporate AI to some other company's MCP server and Bob's your uncle. All AI governance is taking up a lot of IT time. Shadow AI sprawl, prompt injection, DLP policies for anything that touches an LLM, expanding our attack surfaces because now every SaaS tool has a co-pilot bolted onto it with its own OAuth scopes and API keys. Not to mention everyone thinks they can just vibe code their own ill-conceived applications. It's a daily stream of this, generally 10 times someone's workflow. And did a sales rep just paste a customer's PII into some rando GPT wrapper with zero data retention guarantees? Add in hallucinated outputs, compliance and audit trail requirements, SOC2 implications, and a hot mess of copilots, autonomous agents, MCPI servers, third-party integrations. It's a load of work. Exactly. I think I get the gist, especially the Bob's your uncle part. At this point, AI has some benefits, but it comes with many costs. Again, I've been on this ride before. I think most of us have. I'm old enough to remember when we were being told that if we didn't build more bombs, then the Russians would build more and better bombs and destroy us. We're hearing something similar once again. I'm old enough to remember going to Tomorrowland in Disney World to visit the Carousel of Progress. Y'all remember that? The People Mover, the Mission to Mars, and all the rest. You remember the Carousel of Progress? Sponsored by General Electric, moving around 4 audio animatronic families who demonstrate the advances of the last 100 years, these promises of convenience, of comfort, of leisure, of ease. Some of these promises have come to pass, though not necessarily as we thought. In fact, at least until now, the doctrines of assured mutual destruction and the stockpiling of weapons of mass destruction have held another world war at bay. The promise of convenience and ease from technological innovations hinted at or highlighted on the carousel, i.e. the microwave oven, the laptop computer, the cell phone, the internet, have all readily come to consumers and in many ways have met or even exceeded their promised offerings, at least to those of us who can afford them. But at what cost? And on whom? And on what do these costs fall? These are among the questions that Pope Leo XIV, the current pope, is asking in his recent encyclical entitled Magnifica Humanitas. Who thought you'd come to a UU fellowship and hear talk of the Pope's magnificent humanitas? The magnificence of humanity, or something like that. In this document, the current Pope has some very thoughtful and insightful questions for our times, especially in light of the advent of artificial intelligence. Over 100 years ago, a previous Pope Leo XIII addressed similar concerns at the advent of another age of technological progress on the earlier end of the carousel of progress. As noted in my chatbot search, I went there, Leo XIII wrote Rerum Novarum, of new things, in 1891. This encyclical addressed the rights and duties of capital and labor, laying the foundation for the modern Catholic social teaching, which I referenced earlier in the reading. It emphasized the importance of social justice and the rights of workers in the face of industrialization and capitalism. Now Leo XIV is asking similar questions in light of the current age. Again, I went to the AI summary. Pope Leo XIV issued the encyclical Magnifica Humanitas on the 15th of May, 2026, focusing on safeguarding the human person in the age of artificial intelligence. Magnifica Humanitas is a major social encyclical addressing the ethical, spiritual, and societal challenges posed by rapid technological change, especially AI. It examines human dignity, social doctrine, digital power, work, freedom, and global peace. Basically what Leo is saying, this Leo, much like the previous Leo, 13, be aware, human beings. Be aware. Human beings are more than tools to be used for the fulfillment of greed. And is adding, don't ignore the human or divine intent in your calculations, or something like that. A blunt interpretation of both the Leo encyclicals is, watch out, you greedy jerks, there is more than you. There are things beyond you, and justice is real, or something like that. Following the release of the current Pope Leo's encyclical, I looked for a response that resonated. I didn't read the Pope's encyclical, I confess. It's long. The summary works. But I looked for the response that resonated with the theological framework beyond that of the Bishop of Rome. and the Roman Catholic Church, not my theology. Somewhat surprisingly, I found that resonant voice in the writings of a Franciscan sister and doctor of neurobiology, Sister Ilia Delio. I highly recommend reading her Substack, finding her on YouTube and hearing her speak, and I look forward to reading her multiple books. She's prolific. Not only is she a brilliant scholar of her own and a professor at Villanova, she has done deep study of the works of Teilhard de Chardin, himself a Jesuit. I love his work. Carl Jung, Psychology and Human Development, and other theologians, philosophers, and scholars of the late 20th and early 21st centuries. It is a selection from her recent Substack from Sister Deo, which I shared in our readings. Deo doesn't discount the important perspectives and insights offered by Pope Leo. However, she finds key limitations in the narrowness of the Roman Catholic understanding of humanity within which Leo limits himself. In the Pope's framework, the magnificent God-created human being is, as I referenced in last week's talk, the end-all, be-all of creation. This is classic Roman theology based in the influential works of Thomas Aquinas, a 13th century Italian theologian and philosopher. St. Thomas, as couched in his times, saw human beings as a once and for all, final and fixed expression of God's ultimate creation. The finished product, the ultimate expression of God's work, once and done. This is why artificial intelligence is so concerning to the Pope and so many, because it pretends to or potentially might exceed the ultimate work of God, the divine being. It's messing around on God's turf. We're messing around on God's turf, according to Pope Leo. Sister Delio, as you might be surprised or not surprised, has a different understanding of humanity. Based in Teilhard's work, human beings are an ever-evolving, ever-becoming, ever-individuating expression of both spirit, divinity, and matter, earth. All creation is ever-evolving, ever-becoming, and human beings are of the same stuff. Nothing is fixed. Uniquely, human beings have evolved an awareness of their creatureliness, their earthiness, and their spirit, both their divinity and their creatureliness. We are, as far as we know, the most self-aware creatures. There might be others. And therefore, the most potentially spiritual, divine creatures, or something like that. Therefore, as we who are created, evolving, and evolved and evolving, and basically lazy, as I referenced, we have found ourselves at an interesting moment. We have created a tool that can think for us, or at least like us. It can look like us on video screens or in images. It can create like us to a point. It can sound like us, talk like us, work like us, drive like us, write like us, etc. Eventually, it can and will walk and be in the world like us via robotics. But will it be us? Or will it replace us? Sister Delio uses the metaphor of the mirror to delve deeper into AI. She writes, "This is why AI is not primarily a technological or economic or even a safety problem. AI is a mirror. And what we see in it is what we have been refusing to see in ourselves. Every anxiety about it maps with uncanny precision onto an anxiety we have carried about ourselves. Will it become conscious? Is the question we have refused to ask about matter and life. Where does consciousness come from? And what is its relation to the substrate that bears it? Will it replace us is the question we are for. Hang on. Will it replace us is the question of what we are here for, asked from the other side. If intelligence and capability are not what make us human, then what does? Will it deceive and exploit us? Is the record of what we have done to another and to the earth, reflected back through a system that learned its values from us? Will it have a soul? Is the question we stopped asking ourselves when we let a substance metaphysics reduce the soul to a ghost in the machine. Again, read Delio. It's good stuff. It takes a bit. Basically, like with our previous technological advances, we're not going to turn back the clock. Artificial intelligence is here and sticking around, at least as long as the power grid and the cooling waters hold out. The question that Delio asked, if it is a mirror of ourselves, will we simply become enamored like Narcissus? For those of you who were last year, I told you he would show up again. Or will we look deeply into this mirror, beyond the surface, deeper into ourselves, and take this moment, this axial moment of human evolution, and see ourselves for more fully for who and what we are? Will we see ourselves for more than the work we do, more than the stuff we consume, more than the words we speak or write, more than the thoughts we might choose to have, more than the reflection that we see but dimly, to use the Apostle Paul's words, but to see ourselves face to face? Might we truly deeply find ourselves in and through this tool, AI, and the challenges and opportunities it provides? Might we take the deeper, harder, more challenging steps and become even more ourselves, more fully human, recognizing our creatureliness, earth creatures, and therefore more fully spirit, recognizing our divinity, the stuff of stars? This is what is possible in this moment. But then again, most of us are basically lazy, and that sounds like a lot of work. What? I already recycle? Yet I remain cautiously hopeful. We're already seeing some questions being asked of the salesman, promising everything that they always promise: safety, leisure, something to do our work for us, or an exit strategy, life on Mars, dear Elon. We've got that promise. The pushback has already begun on data centers, on water usage, on job losses, on the expenses, the costs, on the impact on education, on critical thinking, on writing skills. Interestingly, part of the pushback seems to be coming from younger generations who are seeking real stuff among so much artificial stuff. For the second week in a row, I will mention The Odyssey. This film, made with very little CGI or AI, is drawing crowds unlike many CGI-laden films this summer. Maybe there is a growing cynicism, or better yet, a savviness. We've heard this sales pitch before. They promised, but the tools keep going elsewhere. The rich keep getting richer. The poor keep getting poorer, and the children get discarded. And the middle keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Do we really care if China gets it first or even better? After all, they have engineers and scientists running the show. What do we have? More billionaires or trillionaires, more corruption, and a Congress of octogenarians. And worse. So I encourage you along with me to keep asking questions, keep reading, keep digging deeper in spiritual work, in social justice, in earth justice, in earth care work. You're here at the UU, so I know that you will. And continue to consider the human component of the equation. What is the true cost versus benefit of AI? We also need to help and encourage others to do the same. Do you remember, is it real or is it Memorex? Is it real or is it AI? And we're hungry for real. Don't be afraid. Fear plays into the hands. Be aware, be conscious, be informed. Perhaps AI will provide some of what is being promised. Medical advances, technological advances, design advances, all at faster speeds. I'm sure that some of these promises will come to pass, at least for some privileged folks. Our opportunity is to look deeply into the mirror that AI is and will continue to offer us, or more likely to be shoved in our faces, to sneak in behind our backs while we are distracted elsewhere. But look at it. Look in this metaphorical mirror and ask, is that who I want to be? Is that who we want to be? Is that who we are? Or can we go deeper, see deeper, think deeper, quest deeper, create deeper, and become even more of the humanity that we are capable of being? We evolve as we step beyond what we have been or currently are. We take the step beyond our current selves. This is an opportunity. And the challenge presented by artificial intelligence, this new tool of either our self-absorption and laziness, or our deeper and fully becoming the evolving divine earth and spirit creatures whom we know that we are. Our challenge and our opportunity. Blessings and peace as we step forward, and perhaps beyond. There it is. Let's stand and sing, if you're able. Life Has Loveliness to Sell, number 329. Hear these closing words. We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up for the precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown. Go in peace. It's been a pleasure to be with you.